So, where do I even start? It's been a while, hasn't it? It's been a while, hasn't it? So, if you are curious to how I've been navigating my life since being let go from a major company, you're gonna want to check out this episode. You're gonna want to check this one out, kids. No, just seriously. I'm your host, Monique. This is Simply Robotics, the podcast, a podcast exploring the animation industry one episode at a time. Let's get into today's show. It's been a long time, it feels like. It honestly feels like it's been forever for me. And I feel like so much life has really happened since my last episode. So I just wanted to take the time with this episode to actually just go into what's been up with me these last couple months. I mean, when I started this season of the podcast, I said, it was always my intention to not only have my interviews and have my reviews, but also share a bit of my own experience and journey in this industry, kind of as it's happening, and reflections and all sorts of stuff like that. So I titled this episode, "What If You Chose This Life?" And that is based off of a quote that I came across by Les Brown, where he was basically saying, like, what if all these things that's been happening to you in your life or whatever, I had a series of events that were out of my control, and instead, what if I had been in control of those decisions? What if I made those decisions instead of those decisions happening to me, right? So I want to take in this episode to go over or just recap May, June, and July of 2022 for me, and just, like I said, let's just take a journey through those months. So here we go, starting with May. If you're following me on social media, which I figure you probably are, unless you found me on YouTube directly or you found my podcast through whatever podcast platform you're listening to or whatever. But if you're following me on social media, you would have seen me tweet, post on Instagram, post on LinkedIn that I was a part of the massive layoffs at Netflix. This is the animation podcast. I was working for the animation studio. I was a part of all of that was happening then, right? So, it was rough. Honestly, it was so rough. It was like I just didn't think it was going to happen to our show, especially because our movie was in production, We were making the movie. We weren't in development. We weren't waiting to be greenlit. We weren't anything like that. We were making this movie. So, I was really finding out through social media that things were being canceled and stopped and all that sort of stuff, and people were being let go. And, I was thinking like, oh, well, it seems to be this type of production maybe won't come to us, or it seems to be that it maybe won't come to us. And then it came to us, as well as a couple other things, all in the same week. And it was devastating. It was devastating. If you think about it, I've been with this group of people on this particular production for a year and a half. I've been at Netflix for a little over 2 years at the time of the layoff. So throughout all the pandemic, these were like the people, you're in the trenches with. So to have your production or the rug pulled from under you was so hard. Also, I was not only grieving and mourning the production I was working at, working on, the group of people I was working with, I was also began to mourn the life that I was starting to create and structure and have for myself. I quickly, I didn't so much go into a panic, but I was just like, wow, I have no idea what's going to happen next, because I firmly believed that I was going to, which now seems crazy. But I wanted to stay at Netflix. I wanted to, move around the company. I wanted to work in many different facets of the studio. So I was like, I'm here, and I'm going to be here forever. And again, that's maybe such like a boomer thing to think. But that's still what I thought. I just felt like that was it for me. So I found myself quickly having to scramble with updating my resume and my LinkedIn, and again posting on social media, letting my network know that I am looking for work and trying to get something quickly. And I was also still doing the podcast during this time, which was good until it wasn't good. So in June now, I am, having so many interviews. Like, I am so grateful and like appreciative, and I absolutely feel blessed that I was able to get so many interviews because when I left Blue Sky, it took me a year and a half to really get to Netflix because I wasn't getting any interviews because I was not based in California. So now with a lot of productions being remote and they're kind of this flex thing, like you can work remotely, but you're eventually going to have to make your way to California. I was at least getting significantly way more interviews than I could have imagined, right? But I was starting to get exhausted because I am thrusted into this interview circus, for lack of a better term, and being put into like more of a performative space because I have to, sell my skill sets, sell my experience. I understand that this is all like video calls and stuff, so I want to seem personable, all these sort of things that were like really exhausting, as well as like, again, grieving and mourning and working on this podcast. So I found myself at a point where like I just like couldn't. I needed to stop the podcast. I needed to just focus on my mental and emotional well-being. And June was my birthday month, and it was like such a weird space for me. Like, it was just like so foggy in terms of just like my space and my thinking. Like, and you know what else was crazy? I had like just found a therapist. I got a new therapist in April. And the irony of it, I was like, I'm going to look for a therapist when my life is like okay. Because I feel like every time I've sought out a therapist, it was because my life was crazy. Like my emotions and everything was like in shambles. And I kind of went with whoever was accessible. So I said, this time around, everything is stable, everything is good. I'm going to actually, talk to a bunch of therapists, and I'm going to pick one that I feel, is good when life is calm, because when life gets crazy, it'll be, someone I've already built up a rapport with, only for life to get crazy. And because in America, health insurance is attached to your employment, I quickly realized like I was not going to be able to see her anymore. And that really sucked because now I needed my therapist that I had, again, built up a rapport with, and I can't talk to them. So back to my birthday was in June, and I was really, really like, man, I love celebrating my birthday. I love my birthday season. I love the summer, all these things. And I feel kind of miserable. I feel upset with the state of the animation industry. I feel upset with our project ending. I feel upset that like I'm no longer seeing my coworkers in the same capacity. There's a few of us that still talk here and there and check in with each other, but like that's kind of like it. And I'm upset that like now I have to, make sure I'm applying to jobs like all the time, if you will. Make sure I'm really nurturing those connections and leveraging LinkedIn and just whatever, making myself seem like a really good candidate, practicing interview questions and responses, and cultivating whatever questions I want to ask the person. And this is just not what I want to do. And that's when the quote I mentioned earlier in this episode came up, when it was like, okay, well, what if I decided I was going to quit Netflix in May? What if I made the decision that I was going to get a new job and either make a pivot and move from animation to games or special effects, or just go to tech? What if I made that decision instead of really sitting in the feeling of like, this has happened to me and this has greatly disrupted my life? Like, what if I made the decision to disrupt my life? So that kind of did help me a little bit in how I went into July, right? So July comes and I have this trip that I've been putting money towards since last year, which is going to Peru with a travel group. It was an amazing trip. I was there for like a week, so to speak. It was like majority of one week and a little bit of the following week. And then I was in New York for the rest of that week and a little bit of the following week. So most of July, I was like just not here. I probably haven't really communicated. I'm temporarily, I don't know how long, not in New York. I'm somewhere else. So there's that. Maybe, you know, depending on your social media investigation skills, you may have put one and one together and it equals two. Keep that to yourself. But anyway, so for July, you know, I basically really took that break. I posted on social media that I was taking July and August off of the podcast and a lot of stuff to just focus and really center on me. I had a really good birthday and I was grateful for the people that came out and supported me and all that stuff, celebrated with me. But I needed to like step back so that I could step forward correctly. And a part of that, as you can see, is like creating this nice little space right here for me to do videos like this and begin to like really plan my podcast, the remaining videos and stuff that I had, but really get them up to a place where I'm like recording, and then I'm going to be editing and I'm going to get it out to you guys. And I'm really excited and looking forward to some of the stuff that I have in the vault and that will be coming soon. The trip was so amazing. I climbed Machu Picchu twice. You know, ate so well. The food in Peru is amazing. I think I had some real good moments to reflect and think of like, and this happens a lot with me with traveling, and it probably just happens with people when you like zoom out from your life and all the things that you're experiencing and you're reminded that like life is so much bigger than you and the things you're going through, but also like my life is important to me, so the things that's happening is also going to be important to me. I'm still like interviewing and really probably getting close to some opportunities, which has been great. I am not too sure, to be honest with you, what the future holds for me. I've had a couple odd interviews. I'm not even gonna, you know, lie about that. There's some people that did not make me really feel good about the fact that I don't live in wherever they were hiring, you know, and there were some people that I believe didn't or maybe couldn't give me the compensation that I feel that I deserved. And you know, if they believed me to be the candidate that they believed me to be as well, what they were offering just was not reflective of that at all. So those things were kind of challenging too, because like with the one that was low compensation, I was like, what if I just turned down the only job offer I'm getting? Because every place was rejecting me because I wasn't in California. And I'm gonna have a conversation about that with some friends, you know, just like a round table, if you will, a little chat after work, maybe wind down thing, and talk about the whole, you know, the modern day centralization of animation industry and how we feel about those things. But, you know, that was really starting to like freak me out. And even now that I'm have some opportunities that are definitely of interest to me, I'm here like, am I really gonna have to move out to California, and for how long? Or do I move out of this industry? And that was what really sucks for me, because I am just so passionate about animation. And even if I dibble dabble outside of it for, you know, career experience and stuff like that, I cannot see myself doing anything other than what I'm doing. You know, I know I still have the podcast and my passion project that I'm working on and things like that, but I could not imagine just like not working in the industry at all anymore, you know? So I don't want it to be like move to Cali or bust. But that was May, June, and July for me. So is that it? Is that it? So what I will show, oh, okay, nope, I'm looking at my notes. I'm looking at my notes on my podcast planner, y'all. So I have what I'm up to now. So, like I said, I am working on the podcast. I am so grateful that I've like drafted scripts and planned episodes for the rest of 2022. So it's all about recording, editing, getting that stuff out there. I am still working on my passion project, which I'm also really, really happy about. I've been talking to people, getting help, and just like, there's just the technology out there is so amazing that I'm like, should I really make it this way? Should I make it that way? Like, I'm not too sure. But there are things that I am sure about that I could work on getting clearer. And I'm working on a production schedule for that. I've been doing my animation consultations, so that's been going well for me. I released merchandise, some podcast merchandise. That was I commissioned an artist from Fiverr. He's tagged on my Instagram. Like I said, my podcast planner, I'm gonna get that up here again so you can see it. I am so proud of this thing, so very proud of this thing. And what else is new for me? Oh, I got some great resume help, and I would say, if anyone has also, at the time that I'm recording this, there's been so many layoffs, so many animation productions have been stopped. Like, as they're in production, they've been stopped, not even in the development stages, So if you are a person that was impacted from all those things, talk to your studio, the one that you just got let go of, and ask to speak to a recruiter to help you with your resume. Because honestly, that's the least that they can do, since you're being thrown out there to look for something else. And I did that, and it was so helpful and eye-opening for me, optimizing my resume and my LinkedIn. And in some other things, well, yeah, I'm gonna be vlogging my filmmaking journey a bit more too, now that I have this like little space and area set up. So ultimately, I feel that like, accepting this reality, though it has been challenging, has been working a little bit for me. I will say again, just trying to uphold the perspective of what if I made these decisions? Like, what if I had decided to leave my job? And what if I had decided to take a step back from podcasting? What if I decided all these different things? How would I operate, if I was in control of all those stuff? I think it has helped. I'm hoping that this episode was good too. We didn't talk too much. It's not a review and it's not an interview, but these are the type of episodes I want to be able to have as well. I want to have some of my thoughts on things, my personal testimonies. I understand that I've signed NDAs and I'm still working in the industry, and I have no desire to bash anyone or anything. However, I do intend on holding situations, whatever, accountable going forward, of course. But it's a very small industry, and I'm so grateful to be a part of this industry, because really over the last few months, this industry, the people of this industry have really made me feel valued and feel seen and supported me in a way that I just did not see coming at all. So I'm so grateful. So I didn't even introduce myself. My name is Monique. I am the host of Simple Robotics, the podcast, a podcast exploring the animation industry one episode at a time. You can find me on all social media platforms at Simple Robotics. The website is simplerobotics.com. So if you want to check out the merchandise or this podcast planner, you could print it. You can have it on your iPad, like I have it on my iPad. All that sort of stuff. If you want consultations for some projects and ideas that you have, and you want support or help or just the sounding board, you could do all of that over there. Coming up next, is things what y'all are here for. The reviews, the interviews is what's coming up next. So thank you again, and I am so grateful and happy.